They really have a quarterback controversy in Philadelphia, which is where we start with Peter King from Good Morning Football, Football Morning in America. I'm going to get it right, Pete. I've got Good Morning Football, Football Morning in America, Monday Morning Football. I apologize. Football Morning in America.
No problem, Dan. Hey, Dan, listen. I don't think the Eagles have a quarterback controversy. What's the controversy? Play Jalen Hurts. Seriously.
Okay.
I thought that was the funniest thing of the weekend when Doug Peterson said after the game, and again this morning on WIP, oh, I really haven't decided, or I haven't made up my mind. Doug, let me tell you something. You're not going to be allowed on the team plane to Phoenix on Saturday if you say that Carson Wentz is your quarterback Sunday in Glendale, Arizona.
Here is Doug Peterson, and he won't commit to who his starter is.
Is Jalen your starter next week? And if so, what will the challenge be, now that more tape is out on him?
I'm going to enjoy this one. I'm going to go home and relax and be with my family tonight and enjoy this win and get ready for the week.
Oh, you have all this momentum. You're feeling good. I don't know. Maybe this is gamesmanship, Pete. Maybe he doesn't want to let Arizona know that they might have to get ready for a running quarterback.
No, Dan, Arizona knows. Arizona knows Jalen Hurts is playing. It's just that everybody in the Philadelphia Eagles organization, players, coaches, are walking on eggshells with Carson Wentz. I mean, seriously, if I'm Carson Wentz today, you can't go in the facility, but I'll do a phone call with because Monday and Tuesday facilities are closed around the league. But I do a phone call with Doug Peterson and said, stop being maniacally concerned with my feelings. I'm not a pane of glass. I understand this guy played great. You got to play him. Good. Let's go and win. And I don't know whether he's going to do that or whether he would do that. But the rest of this, I don't know. This is the biggest win this team has had in a year.
Yeah.
And it was almost like they tied. Where was the emotion and yeah, baby. Oh, we're back in it. If we win this week and Washington loses, we're a half game out of first place. And Washington's coming to our place in week 17. They're trying to be respectful to Carson Wentz. I appreciate that, but you got to play this kid the rest of the way and see what you have.
What kind of trade market will there be for Carson Wentz?
I think I will be surprised if the Indianapolis Colts are not interested in him. And to what degree, I don't know. It's hard for me to say what his value would be. Would it be a low one? Would it be 2 2s? I don't know. In the quarterback business, Dan, and again, I am not comparing him at all to Josh Rosen. But Josh Rosen was drafted number 10 one year, and then he was traded for the 45th pick 11 months later. So it's like the new car. You drive it off the lot, it loses 20% of its value. So I don't know. But the most important thing, if I'm Carson Wentz, if at the end of this year, I realize that it's over in Philly, and if I'm him, I'm probably hoping that it is, because it's going to be too hard. But whatever. If at the end of the year that it appears that it's over, if I'm Carson Wentz, particularly when the cap is most likely going down significantly, and if it isn't, it's certainly not going up, I would be as good as I could to the acquiring team and to the Eagles to try to make it happen.
He's Peter King, Football Morning in America. It's must read every Monday morning, recapping what happened over the weekend in the NFL. Watching the Steelers last night, I was not surprised what I saw with Buffalo, but I'm starting to have more and more questions about a team that only has 2 losses this year. If you were going to describe the Steelers to somebody who didn't watch them last night, how would you describe them?
I mean, I hate to be cliche, but quite honestly, peaked too soon. Okay. And Dan, people are talking about this running game. Well, they got to get the running game going. Dan, over the last 2 months, this team has rushed for 54 yards per game. That's not 2 weeks. That's 7 games.
Yeah.
And so this is not something, I saw that, and I assume it's true, but I heard it on one of the shows over the weekend that Mike Tomlin put his team in pads on Friday, and now he's getting serious. They're going to get the running game going. I mean, good for Tomlin for doing that, really, honestly. But, it's going to take more than the show of putting his team in pads to become a good running team. They're not a good running team. And that really exposes the most interesting thing that Ben Roethlisberger said in what I thought was a very honest post-game press conference. He said, we need to do better at being a more balanced offense. Defense plays pass if you can't run the ball. Okay, so you combine that with the leading team in the NFL in drops, and tell me, what can the Steelers do well on offense now? You simply cannot ask your defense to hold teams to the level of the 76 Steelers, to say, okay, you got to hold everybody to 12 points a game or whatever that was. It was absurd that year. But you can't do that in modern football. And so that's why this is not, in my opinion, it's not just a slump with the Steelers. Look, they're lucky. They go to Cincinnati on Sunday. They'll get a little bit well. But the fact is, this team has to play the Colts in week 16 and has to play in Cleveland in week 17 in a game they might need. As absurd as it is, they have gone from a 98% chance in 7 days, a 98% chance to win their division, to if Cleveland wins tonight, it's an 81% chance.
Also factoring in with that defense, losing Devin Bush and Bud Dupree. So it was a formidable defense, but you're losing 2 of their 3 biggest impact players, or 2 of their 4. The game tonight, you mentioned the Ravens and the Browns. How big a game is this?
Well, I mean, look, the crazy thing is, even though you don't want it to happen, the Browns can afford to lose this game, and they're still probably going to be a wild card team. But this is as close to a must game as you can get for Baltimore, if Baltimore wants to make the playoffs. Now, Baltimore could lose and win the last 2 games and probably get in, but still, the Ravens just have to start playing well, Dan. I mean, they have been so disjointed all year. This is a game for the Baltimore Ravens about playing well and getting momentum if they want to make anything of their season. With what we've seen with Aaron Rodgers and the Packers, they're just sort of hanging around. I think they're unbelievable.
Yeah.
I really do. I didn't mean to interrupt your question, but the more I think of what we're seeing in the Packers. So, Dan, I had an item in my column this morning about how, I was like so many people this offseason, all right? And I said, okay, the Packers are not going 13-3 again. Yeah. They've got too many flaws, and they didn't do a thing about their receiver position. And I'm not saying I thought they were a fluke last year. I didn't, but I just thought they would come down to earth a little bit. So now they're on track to have the exact same record as last year. And here's the amazing thing that I wrote in my column, that if you look at since Matt LaFleur walked onto campus in Green Bay, regular season and postseason, best records in football, Andy Reid 27-5, Matt LaFleur 24-7. He's second. And so, I mean, what we're seeing now is a program. And as long as Aaron Rodgers is there, he's just the magic man. And as long as Aaron Rodgers is there, I think that he and Matt LaFleur have potential to make beautiful music. And I think Aaron Rodgers, after the game last night, Dan, I thought he said something really smart that I didn't even realize. I didn't know that since he's been there, they've never had home field through the playoffs. And they really want that. Fans or no fans, they want teams coming in to Green Bay on January 17th and on January 24th. In fact, I think they would love it if it was a primetime game on that divisional weekend, just so that it would be colder and hopefully the wind would be blowing sideways.
Well, also, you want to get a warm weather team, Tampa, maybe on the road. The Saints, a
Yeah.
dome team, get them on the road as well.
Sure.
If Arizona, whoever it might be who's going to go there. And I know we love to do a referendum every Monday on MVP. And as much as I've said it was Patrick Mahomes, Mahomes looked mortal yesterday.
Yeah.
And I still go back and I still believe it. There's nobody who's made the position look easier than Aaron Rodgers. To me, in the history of the game, he can make it look easier than anybody. That doesn't mean he's the MVP, but it feels like, it's starting to lean a little bit more that way with what you've seen with Aaron Rodgers. If you were voting, like the criteria you would have for MVP is what, Pete?
I think it's the guy who is most invaluable to his team. That's what I think it is. That's what the most valuable player says to me. And hey, Dan, I've thought about this a lot, and I thought about it for a good 15 minutes last night. I sat in my office around 1 a.m, and I really just thought, what did I want to say about the MVP this morning? Because we're getting to the point where you're going to have to make a decision 3 weeks from now. And I wrote, I think the MVP is pretty close to a Mahomes-Rodgers toss-up. And that's how I see it. I think it's the MVP is going to be won in the last 3 weeks of the season.
Yeah, it's. I don't think you can go wrong with either one of those guys. I was also wondering about Defensive Player of the Year. I mean, T.J. Watt could win it, but the most valuable defensive player in the game is Aaron Donald.
No, Aaron Donald and the other guy. I'll tell you what, Dan. That. And look, I'd have a better argument for this if Miami won the game, but they didn't. But Xavier Howard is playing the position of cornerback the way Stephon Gilmore played it last year. And Gilmore won Defensive Player of the Year last year. Now, I am with you. I think one of the most amazing things about Aaron Donald is most of the time, he's an interior defensive lineman, getting stuck in traffic, having a cluttered path to the quarterback at all times. Dan, in the last 45 games, he's got 45 and a half sacks. I mean, that just doesn't happen.
But how many people have you covered, Pete, where I said he disrupts an entire offense? T.J. Watt, I have to account for him.
Yeah.
I mean, J.J. at his peak was great, but, I go back to Lawrence Taylor.
I don't know. J.J. Watt, I'll tell you this, Dan. J.J. Watt and Aaron Donald are similarly disruptive. I'm not going to sit here and say Aaron Donald's better than J.J. Watt at his prime. I mean, in his prime, he had some of the greatest games a defensive player has ever had. So, and again, if Aaron Donald does it longer than J.J. Watt did, then I'll take my hat off to him. But think of this, Dan. The Defensive Player of the Year award is 50 years old this year. Okay. No one has ever won it more than 3 times. Lawrence Taylor won it 3 times. J.J. Watt won it 3 times. Aaron Donald, if he wins this year, that would be his 3rd win. He'd be 29 years old after 7 years in the NFL. I think that, if you go to Vegas and bet what are the odds he's going to win a 4th one, put me on the over-under side. I'll take more than 3. Let's just say that.
We asked this last week. I think Paulie or McLovin brought it up, that if you could start your defense with any player in history. And
wow.
And I just said Lawrence Taylor was something I had never seen. I still haven't seen Lawrence Taylor, like somebody who can emulate what he does. Mean Joe Green and Reggie White, and, we can go down the list of Dion was wonderful. Lawrence Taylor, I saw fear. I saw fear on a football field when Lawrence Taylor was going in to sack Ken O'Brien in a preseason game. I truly saw fear. I would start with Lawrence Taylor. Who would be your pick?
I'll tell you, Lawrence Taylor. I would have a nod to Deacon Jones, but that was a different time, a different era. The head slap, all the other stuff you could do way back when. Dick Butkus as a middle linebacker had 18 sacks in a season. He was unbelievably good. But I think in today's game, I would take the interior disruptor.
Oh.
Okay. And because I think the interior disruptor is so much harder to find than anybody else, even though I agree with you. Hey, Dan, the great thing about Lawrence Taylor, in my opinion, is that when he was hurt, he would do things. I saw him play with a torn pectoral, which is impossible, with his arm wrapped up, on his chest, like with a huge ace bandage. And I saw him batter the New Orleans Saints in the Superdome one night. This guy was just not normal. And I have great admiration for him. That's a tough question. I'd have to think about it, but I think I'd take the internal disruptor like an Aaron Donald.
Great stuff as always, Pete. The column is must read. It's Monday Morning Quarterback.
You did it again. But that's okay, Dan. I love you. And hey, Monday Morning Quarterback is where it all began.
That's true.
And I did it for 21 years, and it was the great time of my life. It still is. But Football Morning in America. And Dan, one last thing.
Yes.
I do want to tell you, please take 5 minutes today to read the section of my column about contact tracing and how I believe, anyway, it's kind of saving the NFL season.
NBCSports.com, Football Morning in America. Thank you, Pete, as always.
Okay, all the best, Dan. Take care.